My wife had an affair. I didn't confront her. I freed her. So the night I overheard her, I wasn't even trying to listen. I had walked past our bedroom door on the way to grab a glass of water, but her voice was sharp, low, and trembling with urgency, enough to stop me in my tracks. She was on the phone, whispering, "I can't do this anymore. I have to leave him." My stomach dropped. The words sliced through the silence, each one confirming the suspicion I had buried for months, but never dared to confront. Then came the final nail. "I'll tell him soon. We'll be together, I promise." My wife, my partner of 7 years, wasn't talking about me. She was promising her future to someone else. I stood frozen, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I wanted to storm in, scream, demand answers, but something inside me stopped. Instead, I walked back to the kitchen, sat down, and let the reality sink in. It all made sense: the late nights, the sudden work trips, the emotional distance. She hadn't been pulling away because of stress or exhaustion. She had been slowly unraveling our life, piece by piece, in someone else's arms. That night, I barely slept. My mind replayed her words again and again. Every glance, every excuse, every moment that now looked like a lie. And beneath the pain, a strange calm settled in. I knew exactly what I had to do. The next morning, while she showered, I pulled out a suitcase. I packed clothes, documents, and essentials. Not for me, but for her. If she was planning to leave, I'd save her the trouble of sneaking out in the night. When she came home later that evening, she looked distracted, her eyes darting as if weighing a decision. I waited until she went to the bedroom, phone in hand, no doubt messaging him again. That's when I walked in. She looked up, startled, as I tossed the suitcase onto the bed. The thud echoed louder than my own heartbeat. Her face went pale, her lips parted, but no sound came out. And then, calmly, I said the only words she couldn't have expected: "I agree." Her eyes widened like she'd seen a ghost. She stammered, "What do you mean?" Her voice cracked, her phone still clutched in her hand, screen glowing with a name I didn't recognize. She didn't need to explain. I already knew. I pointed to the suitcase. "You said you couldn't do this anymore. You said you had to leave me. I'm just helping you follow through." My tone was calm, almost too calm, which only unsettled her more. She blinked rapidly, her throat working to form excuses. You don't understand? It's not what it sounds like." The classic line, as if I hadn't heard every word with my own ears. My patience was thinner than glass. I cut her off. "I heard you. Every word. You've been planning your escape with him, so don't insult both of us by pretending otherwise." My voice rose, steady but sharp, like a blade drawn across a whetstone. Her phone buzzed in her hand, and she quickly flipped it over. That tiny movement told me everything. She was still tethered to him, even while standing in front of the husband she had just betrayed. She sank onto the edge of the bed, head in her hands. "Didn't mean for this to happen," she whispered. Tears welled in her eyes, but they didn't move me. They felt rehearsed, like lines from a script she had practiced in the mirror. I stayed standing, arms crossed. "You had choices. You chose him. You chose to lie. You chose to waste my time. I'm just making it easier for you now." My words hit harder than I expected. They made her flinch. She reached out, grabbing my wrist, desperate. "Please." I was confused. I don't want to lose everything we've built. Her touch, once comforting, now felt like chains trying to drag me down with her. I pulled away. My mind flashed with memories. Our wedding day, her laugh echoing through the house, the countless promises we made. And then those same memories burned, replaced by the sound of her whispering to her lover. The contrast was unbearable. I told her flatly, "You already threw it away." I just picked up what was left. Her tears fell harder, but they no longer reached me. The woman I once knew was gone, replaced by someone I couldn't recognize anymore. The silence in the room stretched, broken only by her quiet sobs. I felt strangely steady, as if the storm had already passed. Because in that moment, I realized something. I wasn't the one being left behind. She was. And as I turned toward the door, suitcase still sitting on the bed, her voice cracked behind me. "Please don't do this." But I had already decided. The only thing left was how I wanted to end this chapter. She scrambled off the bed, rushing toward me before I reached the door. "Wait, please. Just listen." Her voice cracked like glass under pressure. I stopped, but only because I wanted to hear how far she'd twist herself to salvage her lie. Her hands trembled as she grabbed mine. It wasn't serious. I was confused, lonely. He meant nothing compared to you. The words spilled fast, desperate, each one a weak patch on a sinking ship. I let her talk, but my silence cut deeper than my anger. Finally, I asked, "So you plan to leave me for nothing?" You whispered promises into his ear for fun. My tone was sharp, each word deliberate. She shrank back like a child caught red-handed, unable to hold my gaze. She shook her head furiously. "No, I didn't mean it like that. I thought I was missing something. Now I see you're what I need, I swear. I'll end it with him tonight." Her promises rang hollow like cheap coins hitting the floor. I almost laughed at the irony. Hours ago, she had told her lover she couldn't do this anymore, that she had to leave me. Now, she was parroting those exact words back to me, but with a twist, begging to leave him instead. The suitcase on the bed seemed to glow in the corner of my eye. A symbol, proof that I was done waiting for her to decide my worth. I had already made the decision she was too cowardly to make herself. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "Do you even realize what you've done? You didn't just cheat, you rewrote our story without me. You gave him the pages that were supposed to be ours, and now you want me to forget the ending." Her lips trembled. She reached out again, but this time I stepped back. Her tears weren't enough. Her explanations weren't enough. Because in my chest, the part of me that once ached for her had already gone cold. The room felt heavier with each passing second, like all the lies she'd told were finally settling around us, suffocating the air. She whispered, "Don't go, please. I can change. I'll do anything." But the truth was simple. I didn't want her to change anymore. I didn't want apologies, promises, or bargaining. I wanted peace. And peace couldn't exist in the ruins of betrayal. I reached for the door handle, turning it slowly. Behind me, she let out a broken sob, the sound of someone realizing too late that the safety net she relied on had vanished. Without looking back, I said softly, "You wanted freedom. Here it is." Then I walked out, leaving her and the suitcase behind. For the first time in months, the air felt clear. The moment I stepped out of the bedroom, I heard her footsteps racing after me. "Please, just wait," she cried, grabbing at my arm. I shook her hand off gently but firmly, and kept walking toward the front door. Her voice grew sharper, almost panicked. "You can't just leave. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. Start over." But the irony nearly made me laugh. She had spent months planning her exit, yet now she was terrified of mine. I paused at the door, suitcase still untouched on the bed behind her. "You want it out?" "I'm just giving you what you asked for." My tone was calm, but inside, my heart pounded. Not from doubt, but from the weight of finality. She tried another tactic. "What will people think? What will your family say if you walk away like this?" That made me smirk. "Funny. You worried about everyone but me when you were sneaking around? Now suddenly my family matters." Her face reddened, her lips tightening as tears streaked down her cheeks. I could see the gears turning in her head, searching for one last argument that might tether me to her. But there was nothing left to say. As I reached for the knob, she blurted, "I'll end it with him tonight. I'll block his number, delete everything. Just please, don't go." The desperation in her voice was raw, but all I heard was fear of consequences, not love. I turned slightly, meeting her eyes one last time. "You didn't just betray me, you betrayed us. And the person who could have forgiven you doesn't exist anymore." That broke something in her. She crumbled against the wall, sobbing. I walked out, closing the door behind me. The night air was cool, almost cleansing. For the first time in what felt like forever, I could breathe without choking on suspicion, lies, and half-truths. The street was quiet, as if the world had paused for me, but her chaos followed. My phone buzzed with texts within minutes. "I'm sorry. Please come back. I love you. I can't do this without you." The messages piled up, one after another, a desperate flood of guilt and fear. I didn't respond. I set the phone face down on the passenger seat and just drove. Each mile between me and that house felt like a piece of weight lifting off my chest. By the time I reached the edge of town, I felt lighter than I had in years. When I finally stopped, I sat in the car, staring at the horizon. My marriage wasn't ending because I wanted it. It was ending because she had already ended it long before I overheard her call. I was just catching up to the truth. The days that followed were a blur of messages, calls, and voicemails. My phone became a battlefield of her desperation. Every morning I'd wake up to dozens of notifications. Please come home. We can fix this. Don't throw us away. But the irony gnawed at me. I wasn't the one who threw us away, she had. All I did was hand her the suitcase she had already packed in her heart. That thought gave me strength each time her number lit up my screen. When ignoring her didn't work, she switched tactics. One night, she showed up at my office, waiting in the lobby like a ghost from another life. Her eyes were swollen, makeup smeared, voice trembling as she whispered, "Can we talk? Just 5 minutes?" I shook my head. There's nothing left to say. The receptionist looked awkwardly between us, but I didn't care. I walked past, leaving her standing there, clutching her purse like it could anchor her to me. The voicemails grew darker. At first they were apologies. Then came anger. "You're really just going to abandon me?" After everything, she tried guilt, tried rage, tried promises of change, but nothing penetrated the wall I had finally built. My friends noticed the shift in me. Mark, who had been my sounding board through the storm, said one night over beers, "You look lighter, like you finally put down a weight you didn't know you were carrying." He was right. Because while she spiraled, I started rebuilding. I threw myself into work, into hobbies I had abandoned, into nights out with friends I hadn't seen in months. For the first time in years, I was living for myself, not bending to fit into a marriage she had already broken. One weekend, I visited my parents. Over dinner, I told them everything. Faces fell, but instead of pity, I saw pride in their eyes. "You did the right thing," my dad said. "You chose your dignity." Those words stuck with me. Meanwhile, she kept reaching out, her messages laced with nostalgia. "Remember our honeymoon? Remember how happy we were?" But all those memories were poisoned now, stained by the knowledge that she had whispered similar words to someone else. The more she begged, the more certain I became. It wasn't love that drove her. Please, it was fear. It's fear of losing comfort, stability, the safety net she thought would always be there. She didn't miss me. She missed the life she had thrown away. And that realization was the final piece of my healing. For the first time since I overheard her call, I felt clarity. I wasn't her backup plan. I wasn't her second choice. I was free. Eventually, her messages slowed. The frantic texts turned into occasional pings, then silence. Well, it's sudden. It was like a storm running out of rain. One day I realized I hadn't heard from her in weeks, and the quiet felt beautiful. I didn't block her, not because I wanted her back, but because I wanted her to feel the weight of that silence. To know that every word she sent landed in a void, unanswered, unacknowledged, it was the truest punishment I could give. In that silence, I found myself again. I wasn't just her husband or the man she betrayed. I was simply Marie discovering my passions, rebuilding my friendships, and setting goals that had nothing to do with trying to keep someone else happy. The strangest part, I didn't feel anger anymore. At first, yes, the betrayal burned hot. But over time, the fire cooled into something else. Clarity. She hadn't broken me. She had revealed who she truly was, and in doing so, she gave me a gift: freedom. I started traveling, something I'd always put off because she never wanted to. I went hiking with friends, picked up new projects at work, even started dating casually, not because I needed to replace her, but because I finally had room to breathe. Every so often, I'd hear whispers through mutual friends. She wasn't doing well. The affair had fizzled. The man she thought was her escape didn't stick around once reality hit. And now she was alone, drowning in the choices she made. Part of me pitied her, but only a small part, because pity isn't the same as love, and sympathy doesn't erase betrayal. She had gambled with our marriage, and the house always wins. This time, the house wasn't MIT, was life itself. One evening, I stood on my balcony, city lights flickering below, a glass in my hand. For the first time in a long time, I felt whole. Not because someone completed me, but because I had chosen myself, and that choice was enough. I don't know if she still thinks about me. If she still replays that night when I tossed the suitcase on the bed and told her I agree. But I know this: if she does, it's not with pride or joy. It's with the hollow echo of regret. And as for me, I don't live in regret. I live in possibility. Her story with me ended the moment she whispered to her lover, "I have to leave him." Mine began when I finally whispered back, "I agree." If you've made it this far, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.